All right. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Hmm. So wonderful to see everybody. Let's let's get those cameras on. All right. So today is this is actually I'll probably say this every single time, but this is one of my favorite classes of all of ACI. Um, because it gives us a lot of practical guidance on how do we meditate? Like what is it we're supposed to actually do? Um, and it's relatively straightforward class until it doesn't become a straightforward class. And what I mean by that is that all of a sudden we go into an in-depth emptiness discussion about how does meditation even become possible? So, and how does meditation work? Like if you go through all the if you go through all the steps and you know what to do in meditation, all the problems, all the solutions, do those things work, right? And if you ever took DCI level 3, which is nearly identical to ACI 3, basically that's what we do in that course. We give everyone this like exquisite motivational speech. Now you can meditate. Now you can get into use the inner science to remove your mental afflictions. Now you can do all those things. And then we say, and none of it works. Everything we just told you doesn't work. And you just watch the audience go, what? What the fuck? Right? They all kind of go, what do you mean? I just spent $1,000 on this course and you've been teaching me for 2.5 days on all the cool things about meditation. And then you tell me it doesn't work. Right. And it goes into a beautiful discussion of how meditation works. And if you've been meditating at all and you've had any kind of experience with it, you're probably gonna be like, yeah, you're right, Tim. It doesn't always work. It doesn't always work just to sit down and meditate. Okay, here's my cushion. I'm gonna go put my bottom on it. And then what happens? Like, does anything magical happen? Are you able to meditate? Right. And the whole idea is how do we set ourselves up for good meditation so that the things that we learn about it can work. And what we're going to do today, well, in the second class, we're going to go into probably what I'm going to consider one of the most important discussions you're going to hear or have heard about what it means. Like, okay, let me go back one step beforehand. After you learn how to meditate, the question is, what do you meditate on? Like that becomes like, what's the object of meditation? And so the end of this course focuses on what are the objects of meditation? What should you focus on when you're meditating? Should it be something random? What is it that you're going to put into the lens of your meditation? What are you going to, as you're developing this tool, which you're developing it through a karmic understanding, i.e., causes and conditions, what then do you put in front of you as an object? Like, what is it what's going to help you? Because meditation in and of itself doesn't do anything. really, mainly. It's what you decide to put that focus onto. Because if you put that focus onto something that's not useful or something that's not going to help you, then it's not really worth your time. So then you ask the question, well, what's going to be helpful for me? What's going to be those highest objects? What are those things that are going to help me? Yesterday in our in our translation class, we had a really beautiful discussion on the purpose of logic. Okay, we're not talking about logic today. Okay, but clear thinking, that's ACI 4. We're going to do that next month. But the purpose of it is not to prove things. The purpose of logic is to remove the negativities in your own mind. Okay, so we use logic to determine what are the things that are going to help us become better people. And that's the idea. That's the idea. Like, how do we become better people? And so using that same correlation with meditation, what are we going to put into our meditation that's going to help us become better? What are we going to put in there that's going to help us remove those negativities? Like, I mean, great. It's wonderful to be a calm person. Sure. And you get some of those benefits from meditation. But if you've meditated long enough, you know that meditation's not the cause for having a calm mind. I thought it was for a long time. And then I kept meditating and then I wasn't having calm minds. And it was like, well, wait a second, I'm doing this every day and I'm still not calm and blissful and peaceful and, riding unicorns on rainbows. Like, what the hell's going on? You know? So we need to understand what are we gonna put as an object that's going to help us become better people. And it's a very important discussion on on the Lam Rim, on the steps on the path to enlightenment. You need an object, go to Lam Rim. Each one of those steps will give us something important to meditate on. And what we're going to importantly discuss today, which comes up in the course, and I'm extremely happy to that it's there because then I don't have to say it. I mean, I'm going to say it, but it's incredibly uncomfortable as a teacher to talk about how to treat a teacher, right? You're just like, yeah, this is the tradition, and so how do you teach someone how to treat a teacher? Normally you learn that by observation. Like, you learn it through watching other people. You learn it by doing it, frankly, honestly. Like, but the cool thing about that second class is we're going to go a deep dive into it, which is going to be incredibly important for future studies and to understand why, right? The teacher doesn't need your service. Let's just flatly talk about that, right? The teacher doesn't need anything from you. If they are who you create them to be, you know, they don't need your service. Your service is actually a pain in their ass. You're just like another child to them. I mean, look at Geshe Michael. He doesn't need all these problems. He doesn't need all these students. He doesn't need all these people like disturbing his peace. All he does is complain about people bothering him. That's not all he does. He frequently complains about people bothering him because he's trying to do his translations, right? But he gladly, of course, gladly helps, right? And that's not what that's not what it's really about. But the role of a teacher is for you. It's for you. Like it's for you to have the opportunity to plant the best seeds. It's for you to have that. For you to believe that maybe there's one person out there who reads my mind. Maybe there's one person out there who's been striving to help me. Yeah. Let's put that person to mute. So maybe there's someone there. Maybe there's someone who's been scheming, planning for lifetimes, or maybe even just this entire life, just to help you or help me, right? And how do you develop that view? And how do you develop it well? How do you think about it? How do you act? Like, so we're going to talk about that in the second class. And it's incredibly important for future studies. And then we're going to explain why. And like, because it's a subtle thing and it oftentimes gets misunderstood, misapplied, over applied. And then you blame the teacher for your problems. We all do. You know, they're not treating me correctly. They're not, listen, if you have more than 24 hours where you're comfortable with your teacher, the relationship's not going well. They're supposed to make it uncomfortable. Supposed to. Because you asked. You sat in meditation and you were like, one of your seven ingredients was, please teach me. Why? Why? Because they're teaching you to get to a goal that you don't know how to get to. Like, you want to become an enlightened being. You want to become someone who's capable of helping in a way that is far beyond your capacity right now. I found a card the other day. I was looking for offerings for my teacher. And I was just enjoying the afternoon and I spent probably 2 hours and I had this intuition to go to my favorite store in Phoenix and it turned out to be the right store because I found something that is very difficult to find that my teacher likes from his childhood. And I found this card and I wish I had taken a picture of it, but it was an offering. But the card on the front had a picture of a chicken next to its egg. It had just coming out, it just had opened up and just came out of the egg, was just born, right? And then the egg's like broken on the side of the card. It's like this little yellow thing. And it said, holy shit, my house. Like, so the chicken's looking back at the egg and being like, oh my God, my house is broken. And it is freaking out. Uh-huh. Get it? Like, that's what your teacher's supposed to do to you. The house of you, the house that you thought was you thought you were going to get to stay you when you asked, you asked to grow up. You asked for change. Well, guess what? That's why it's going to be uncomfortable. And you have to get used to it. And it's not an easy process, you know. Could you have the karma for it just to be smooth and like, I guess so. I hope so. Do you have the karma for it to feel that way? That would be great. And you know, you asked for it and you asked for all of your negativities to be uncovered and purified. You asked, right? And so you're going to get that. And it's, you know, growth is uncomfortable. Like if you're going to the gym and you're trying to like bulk up, right? You're not going to get like, don't do what Tim does when he goes to the gym, right? He's like, da, 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 and then like goes into the sauna and the steam room. Like, I worked out. Like, look at those muscles, right? Like, then I look in the mirror and I'm like, why is that not changing? Right? Like, why is that belly getting a little bit bigger? Well, because you're not stretching yourself, Tim. You're just maybe maintaining. Like, do you want to be maintained or do you want to grow? You know, and sometimes it can feel uncomfortable. Like if you're pushing out through that egg and then you're like, holy shit, that's all you knew was the inside of your egg, right? Like, like thinking about seeing emptiness directly and then having that experience where you see all living beings, we cannot imagine what that is like. You can hear the words, it sounds wonderful. But you see, like it has you need to be prepared for those experiences, you see. So that's what we're going to talk about in the second class. Let's get started. This is the most epic review class, I think, in the entire series. When I finished it up, it has 57 slides. Okay. We are going to blow through a tremendous amount of content very, very fast. So if you want to learn about ACI 3 and really get all of the content, you have to spend the time at the class because there's no way you're going to learn all of this right now. Okay. And in fact, a lot of what we study here takes years to integrate anyway. You know, it's not just you took the course and now you understand it and you moved on. Oh, I did the homeworks. Good. Glad you did the homeworks. Now go practice for about 4 or 5 years and then come back. You know, you don't have to be silent for those 4 or 5 years. But, you know, then when you get into meditation, then you start seeing, okay, well, that's what they really meant. That's what that problem really looks like. That's what subtle dullness really looks like. Like that's how that problem gets corrected, you see. And all of these things are guides. They're guideposts. And the cool thing about Lam Rim and cool thing about these teachings is that when you experience it directly, then you're like, oh, 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 right? That's what that meant. You know, and so we have to do all the preparations, right? You got to like put all the stuff in the egg to open it up, right? And you got to like grow in that egg for a little bit. And sometimes it gets uncomfortable inside that egg until you can open it up. You know, so here we go. This is going to be a fire hose. Okay. Good luck. Get out your notebooks. Some of you, this is not for all of you, but some of you, please take notes. I'm tired of answering questions that I have said many times in class. I'm patient mostly, but I can't do the work for you. I am doing the work for you, but I mean that a little bit differently when I say it the second time. Okay. Please, please don't waste class time. Like, don't waste the time. You don't have time. You really don't. And you'll realize that someday. You don't have time. We don't. We really, really don't have time. So here we go. Fire hose session begin. Okay. When we're studying meditation, there are several there's primary six primary things we're going to learn. Five primary things, right? And the first thing is how do you get ready for meditation, which is extremely important. It's not just walk up to your meditation cushion and sit down, right? When you're making a bath, it takes a while, right? You got to put the water in it at least. But if you really want to enjoy your bath, you know, there's a ritual to it. Set it up, take the time. And it also means get the causes into place. Get those causes into place. Like, and that's your daily practice. That's your daily what you do every single day when you're out in the world. What are you doing so that your bath is nice? Like, if you want to take a nice bath, you have to set up the time for it, right? You have to go buy the ingredients. You got to pour the water. You got to get yourself ready. You got to tell everyone, shut up. I'm not talking to you for an hour. You got to turn off your phone, right? I mean, I guess you could be in the bathtub on your phone, which I've done, which is dumb, by the way. I dropped it in the bathtub once. That was ex that was extraordinarily stupid. But why get in the bathtub with your cell phone? Like, why sit on a meditation cushion with your cell phone? Turn the damn thing off. Except if you're using the MSI app and using the timer on it. I don't know. We can figure that out later. So, but how do you get yourself ready? How do you get ready for a meditation? Extremely important. Get the causes into place. Second thing we're going to talk about is what's an ideal meditation environment? What does it look like for you? Like, try to meditate on a busy street with lots of people walking by. I don't know how people in New York meditate. Like, apparently they're really good meditators. I've seen them. Like, they figured it out. They made the ideal environment in the middle of a city. But find a place that is yours to meditate in. Set up the time, set up the place. Tell your family, leave me alone. This is my time. This is my time because I'm a better person when I do this, right? And there's ways to do that. The next thing is like, well, how do you sit for meditation? So first we're setting up how to prepare, then we're creating the environment, and then we're actually sitting for meditation. Like, how do you put your body, which has very important, um, which becomes more and more important when you move into diamond way practice because you're working with the channels in the body. And if your channels are all bunched up, it's very hard to move the prana, right? Self-existently. Um, but how do you put your body? Like, is your body in a position of relaxation or is it in a position of alertness? Is it in a position of over alertness or under alertness? Like, where's the balance with it? Like, how do you stay awake in meditation? Like, how do you not fall asleep? But you are going into a subtler state. So how do you keep things balanced? The next thing is like, what does actually meditation look like? What are those steps on the meditation path? What are you going to experience? And then finally, what do we meditate on, which we talked about in the beginning. Like, once you develop that telescope, which is just a tool, meditation is just a simple tool. It's a very powerful tool. Incredibly powerful tool. But what are you going to analyze? What are you going to focus on? What are you going to put your attention on? So those are the things that we're going to discuss in this entire class. Okay, 52 more slides left. We got an hour. So excited. All right. So before you do any meditation, there are six preliminaries, things to do to get ready. First thing you do is you clean your space. The other day I was meditating and I had the cleaners come over and I had left, you have to clean the house for the cleaners to come, right? Like you have to organize your house so the cleaning people can clean the house, right? And I basically hadn't unpacked from Christmas yet, and I was living out of the suitcase, and all my clothes were kind of just all over the floor in a pile. And I was like, well, I don't have time for this. So I piled them. So I I piled them up in a more consolidated pile, and I put them in a pile in the closet in the corner, right? And then I left and after the cleaners cleaned and did all their things, I was throwing clothes around to find the clothes that I needed. And so it really did nothing for the cleaning process. And I left the closet doors open. So I gotten up and I meditated and I was running late. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to meditate. Fine, whatever. So I sat down and I looked at the closet and I was like, I'll be fine. I just need to, I have 20 minutes, got to go. I have a meeting with Francisco. So I'm like, fine. So I sat down and I'm going to meditate. But I didn't clean up my room, right? And I knew in the back of my mind that I was cleaning up the external can help you clean up the internal, right? And so, like, the meditation itself wasn't terrible, but in the back of my mind, I knew that I wasn't really cleaning up my environment. And you have to look at the seeds of that. So, the first thing to do is clean up, make it orderly. The state of somebody's house pretty much indicates the state of their mind. So, if you want to see how you're doing, just look at your house. All right. Now there's the corollary to it that if you're too OCD about everything as well, there's a different kind of mental affliction happening there too. Just saying. All right, next thing you do is you put out offerings. Like make beautiful things. You're inviting holy beings to come visit you. You're asking your teacher, while probably invisible at that time, to come visit you in meditation. Hey, come sit with me. What are you going to offer them? What are you going to put out for them? Like, don't think it's stupid to put something out for someone who's not there. Like, and that's not how this works. It's not stupid. It's incredibly powerful. It's an incredibly powerful seed. Like, again, you're not doing it. They don't need your offerings, but they like them. The offerings can bring about, if you see it in a particular way, you can see it as they're receiving them as offerings of bliss, right? In the form of, in this case, little flowers and candles and rocks and things like that, incense. There's a traditional set of offerings, which we'll learn later, but put, something out that's like for them. What would they like? You're inviting someone in. Like when someone comes into your house, like if your teacher came into your house, what would you give them? What would you want? Would you be like, hey, let's just sit down and then they're just like a glass of water, maybe? Like you don't have to get exquisite. You don't have to spend lots of money. That's not what this is about. But like if the Buddha walked into your house, would you just sit there or like would you make offerings? I don't know. All right. Thirdly, oh, that's what the traditional offerings look like. More like water bowls. But these are two different ways to look at. You don't, okay, look, guys, the Buddhas don't care if you do it the traditional way or not. If the Buddha cared how you made your offerings and you were somehow going to go to hell because you didn't put the offerings out in the right way, or the water bowl bumped into the other water bowl, or oops, you spilled a drop of water. Like, relax. Okay. If there's an enlightened being out there who's like helping you out, they're just going to be like, great, you're doing a good job. Don't worry about that little water spill, that little bit of rice that fell out of the bowl. Like, and I know there are some teachings out there of like what happens when you mess up offerings, but relax. Like, you're doing it for the teacher. Like, enjoy it. It should be enjoyable. I have spilled so many water bowls in retreat. It made messes all over the place. We dropped an entire table of medicine Buddha offerings. We had it had nectar on it. It had tons of fruits. It was a full table. Like it was a, I don't know, 2 meter wide table, round table. We were pushing it across the room. You don't push tables that have like 500 pounds of offerings on them, right? And the leg collapsed. It was the funniest. I mean, it was funny. Like we're trying to line up the tables so they're like perfectly, like we were trying to be perfect, right? And I was like, hey, can you move that over like 2 inches? Like then it'll be really a straight line. And I watched the person do it. And they pushed the table instead of pulled the table. They pushed it. And I watched the leg start collapsing on the table. And I was like, whoa, 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 stop. And he was like, what? So he pushed harder. The leg collapsed and sort of like in a cartoon kind of way. The table went down. And then there was this dramatic pause where all the offerings just stayed on the table, like they're like this. And I was like, oh shit. And then gravity, decided to do its thing. They just fell onto the floor, like all over the place. And it was interesting to watch everybody's reactions. Me, we had just spent hours of our lives doing this. And I just was like, this is so funny. Like, oh, look, now we have to clean all these offerings up. Now they touch the floor. Technically, we have to get rid of them, offer them to the spirits, do the whole thing again. Other people didn't find it as funny. Someone had a total emotional meltdown about it, right? Started yelling and screaming. I was like foaming, like literally like foaming at the mouth. I was like, whoa, okay, guys, let's calm this down. We made a mistake. You know, what I'm saying is just relax with your offerings. They should be enjoyable. Like the idea is that you're making an offering to an enlightened being who you see as enlightened or trying to see as enlightened, and you're doing your best. You're just doing your best, and they like those things, right? So if you spill a little bit, I mean, I've spilled things on my teacher before. It's, it's just it's just part of the story, right? So just relax. and enjoy. Enjoy. This is all about enjoyment. Now, where does enjoyment come from? You got to find the seed for that too. All right. Anyhow, so the next step, the third step is we're never going to finish this class, by the way, just FYI. The next step is going for refuge and thinking about bodhicitta. All right. So protection. That's why the Buddha is wearing a mask. Okay. I got this photo back and we taught this class back during COVID where we all had to like stay in our house by ourselves. And a lot of us haven't left our houses yet. Um, but going for protection and going for real refuge, like what's really going to protect you? And that's, of course, emptiness. And then making prayers for total enlightenment, making prayers for all living beings. May this help all living beings. I'm sorry. So that was refuge. This is bodhicitta, making the wish. Then the next step is, so this is number four, is that you envision the garden for collecting good karma, which is all the enlightened beings, all the teachers, all the Buddhas. They're all hanging out. You've probably seen representations of, they call it the merit field, which is such a terrible translation. The field where you collect good karma. The field. Like what? The garden, the place where you collect good karma. And that's your teacher. Ultimately, it's your teacher. If you have a hard time visualizing all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and every single one of their faces, that's okay. All you need to see is like, or feel, you don't even have to see, you can feel, is your teacher. The place where your good seeds are planted, the garden of that. And this becomes clearer, more and more clear as you move along. So then the next step is called sakjang. This is the fifth preliminary. How many steps are in the fifth preliminary? Thank you. Seven. So there's seven parts to the fifth part. Okay. Good guys. Don't have to explain all that. Sakjang, which means collecting good karma and purifying bad karma. All right. So what are all of those steps? And I've added some of the Tibetan for shits and giggles because I think you should learn some. First ingredient, the first part of the fifth step is chakso, which means bowing down. Now, this doesn't have to mean like bowing down, like doing a full prostration. Like that's not what that means. It can, but it can mean just offer. It just means honoring the good qualities in somebody. Like what good qualities, when you invite your teacher to sit with you in meditation, what good qualities do you see that they have? And it's a practice to focus on those good qualities and to not focus on the other qualities that you may see, which are coming from your karmic causes and conditions anyway. But you're honoring the things that you want to become. And that's why it's so important to choose the right teacher for you. Like each teacher has their own personality, they have their own style. Not, how do I say this? There isn't one teacher for every single person because each person, there are many qualities. There's many different people out there. So there's different lamas for different types of people. right? There's a unique Lama for each of you. Some of you might have, it might look like the same person to some of you, but they're not the same person to them, right? They are different because they're seeing them differently. They might look like the same body and mind, but each student has their own relationship with the teacher. And so the good qualities that one student sees may not be the good qualities that another student sees. So you have to be very careful about judging other people's practices or judging other teachers or judging your teacher when they're with other students. We had a conversation yesterday at Peachtree Cafe about, how do we listen to our Lama? And when I'm listening and they're talking about other students or they're having meetings with other people and helping other people, I look at it as messages for me. Like, what am I learning here? What am I being taught? What are they teaching them? What does it look like they're teaching that student? Like, and then you have to learn the art of interpretation. What does it all mean? Like, well, why are they one way with them, but not this way with me? I have the weird karma of never being able to get a private meeting with my teacher. I get meetings, but I don't get private meetings. So when I have a meeting, all of a sudden the whole group shows up, all the directors show up, and everyone's there. And then they start having 20 different conversations. And then we get distracted and we go in 20 different ways. And so I might get 5 minutes of important discussion done. And then everybody else is like talking about their stuff. And then later on, I get criticized for doing things I never had time to ask questions about. But I got to run an organization with thousands of people. I got to make decisions every day, right? Well, you don't tell me what you're doing. Well, what do you mean I don't tell you what I'm doing? Like, and sue the fight, the sandpapering, right? Like, well, why do I have to see it that way? Instead of getting upset with my teacher, which I very rarely do. And even when I do get upset, I can separate the upset from them. It's not their fault. But I try to learn, like, well, why, like, I can't even get a meeting with you, and now you're criticizing me for not doing things you didn't tell me I could do or not do because I didn't have time to meet with you because we were talking to other people. Like, don't ever try to debate a geshe, by the way. You will lose, you know. And if you try to debate your teacher, you'll probably lose too, you know. But it's okay. But what I'm saying is like the good qualities. What are they trying to do? Like trying to purify something. Why, after all these years, do I not get? Look, Angel in Taiwan forces me every single morning to have private meetings with students. I just want to eat my breakfast. I'm like, can I just eat breakfast and like relax? And she's like, no, Tim, you have to meet with the students. I don't want to meet with the students. I want to have breakfast. Maybe Angel is trying to purify this seed of me not being able to have private meetings with my own teacher. Thank you, Angel. Maybe she's called Angel for a reason. You see, but honor their good qualities. And I'm just whining just making a point as a teacher. You know, I'm mainly pretty happy. Um, but yeah, find the good qualities and honor those good qualities. All right. Second step. And what I mean by honoring, it doesn't mean like obsequious, over the top, bowing down, like getting on your like, you know, prostrating fully. That's not what it means. It can look like that. But if I every time honored my teacher with a prostration, like everyone, I would be like, in the middle of Peachtree Cafe prostrating. That would be really weird, right? Like a lot of these practices are like externalization of your practices is useful, of course, but how are you honoring them in your mind? How are you thinking about them? Like that's the most important part. How do you think about them? Right? And all those other practices help you develop that way of thinking through physical actions. But how do you think about it? How do you think about your teacher? That's the most important part. How do you think about them? What are those good qualities that they have? Yeah, see. Okay, so I use a picture of, here's some honoring, right? Next is you make offerings. Now you make offerings again. Yay. So you made offerings before. Guess what? You get to make them again. Your entire Vajrayana practice will be offerings. So just get used to it. Chupa, right? My teacher used to like French fries. So here I gave him some French fries, right? And it becomes subtle. It doesn't have to be obvious offerings. The offering I made yesterday, it was as an appropriate time to make an offering, you know, was favorite candies from like 1950, and I found them, right? And I found the right time. I didn't push. I didn't, I he made it sweet. It was just the world opened up, everybody vanished for 2 minutes, and I got to walk up and make this beautiful offering of candies and this card that said, "Holy shit, my house," right, with a chicken on it, right? Make offerings. Like, do they like French fries? Sure, give them some French fries. Do you want to do the normal offerings, right? We give flowers and all those things. So what are those things? You figure it out. You can do the traditional, but maybe that like French fries with, ketchup on it in your hand. I hope you washed your hand beforehand. All right. The third thing is shakpa, right? Which is confessing your bad deeds. Think of one thing you did yesterday, one bad thought. It shouldn't be too hard, you know. Don't obsess, but find something that you did that, and the way that I think about this is not so much like, oh, I'm a terrible person, but I like to think of things that I did that go against my goals. Did I do something yesterday that planted a seed that would be opposite to what I want? You see. And it's not that hard to find. There was probably some stupid thought that you had about somebody, little judgment in your mind, or maybe a big judgment. Some of you are big judgers. Don't worry about it. But you just had these thoughts about other people. Usually it's a mind thing. I'm still clearing up a karma from a year ago that it still bothers me, and I don't know why. It was everyone else let it go but me, but it still comes up from time to time. So confess. And then the next one is rejoicing in good deeds, Yirangwa, of yourself and others. You know, so don't spend so much time thinking about why you're such a terrible person and why you're not enlightened yet, and why you still have to fill out your book every day and why nothing's going right in your life, and then spiral out of control with negative thoughts. Right? Just spiral for 2 minutes and then stop it. Okay. You don't have to focus on it for too long. Then move into like the good things. Rejoice in the good deeds. Rejoice in those, like focus. Oh, that's so beautiful. All the coyotes are howling right now. You can't hear it. Um, they're really fun, but when they go to bed, they play. And they play for like 10 minutes before they go to bed, which probably is a lesson for all of us. Enjoy things a little bit more. Enjoy your life. And if you find yourselves obsessing about the bad deeds, Just here's my personal advices from years of experience. Just confess I obsess about my bad deeds and move on. Don't think about them. Just say, oh shit, I've obsessed about this way too much. I confess. And then move on to the good stuff. Because the shift, the negative self-talk in our minds is so difficult. I have an app for it if anybody has some negative self-talk. Francisco, how's it going? See? Okay. Shift it. Like you have to pull your mind out of it, and it's a habit and it's also a karma too. All right, next, there's someone celebrating their good deeds. This is the image that comes to mind, Frank, some version of this image that comes to mind when I'm thinking about celebrating good deeds.
Здравствуйте. Я хотела посмотреть, у вас что-то готовое, может быть?
Yes, that too. So next, Chunkor. Chunkor Koraku. Request teachings. Request the turning of the wheel be turned. Make supplications that the turning that you teach, that you turn the wheel. Who? The teacher. This is you asking for guidance. Please help me. Please teach me in all the ways, in the ways that I need. And so again, this is what I say, be careful. Be really careful. If you ask this question, it will come. You will get your teachings. Beautifully, yesterday, I was talking to someone and they were having a difficult time about other things, but their health had gotten a lot better. And I was like, well, how did your health get better? And they said, well, I had this really weird experience that they were driving one day and they kept driving by this old guy with two dogs, not an old guy, like a middle-aged guy with two dogs and all of his stuff on a wheelchair. And he was walking down the highway. And finally, she was like, this is too weird. I'm going to stop. So she stopped, and the guy was walking to Baltimore. Okay. I don't know if you know the geography of the United States. Arizona is on the West Coast. Baltimore is by Washington, D.C. on the East Coast. It takes, I mapped it yesterday, 29 hours to drive from here to Baltimore. Driving. And this guy was walking with two dogs in a wheelchair. Okay. So she picked this guy up, helped him, gave him a place to stay, helped him rent a car, got him back on his feet. Eventually, his family picked him up. He was sick, all of these things, and he was super into Buddhist ideas. You know, I remember because I got a phone call because they were trying to find a place for the guy for 2 days before the person picked him up because she was traveling. But then she's like, I think my health got better because I helped this person. And then when he started asking about Buddhism, basically was like, you're not Buddhist, and then just like cut off all communication. It was like this weirdest thing, like the most Buddhist person I know being criticized, right, for not being Buddhist. It was a weird thing, right? But she was like, yeah, this person taught me something because she realized that there was a part of her that was hoping to get a result from helping somebody else, right? And so the teaching was for her, like, yeah, her health got a lot better too. But the teaching was don't be attached to helping people. Like, oh, I'm going to get a good result because I'm such a good bodhisattva. I'm helping people. Right? You see, so, ask for teachings, but ask for them and then be prepared for whatever comes. Sandra, it's good to see you. It'll come. It'll come. And then once you get through it, like, look, I've been through so many problems that it doesn't, while it does affect me at times, it does get better. It always gets better. Or you die. So either way. But but really, like it has this like if you've done this enough and you do the practices, eventually you break through the egg. And then you realize that you're in another egg anyway. Then you got to break through again. Right. So each time you have this, you have to break through it. All right. Oh, this is a good picture. All right. This is you requesting teachings. Help. Yeah, right. Help will not come in the way that you expect it. So let go of what you think the help will look like. Some of you, let go. Let go. All right. And then finally, you ask them to stay close. Please stay close to me. Right. And it can look a lot of ways. And you'll recognize what this looks like later on. And then finally, after your meditation, this is technically happens after the meditation, you dedicate the goodness you've done. I don't think it's a bad idea to dedicate the goodness of your 7 ingredients before your meditation. You can do that too. There's no reason you can't dedicate during, middle, and after. Okay, here we go. There's your dedication. High five. What is this? What is this slide about? I don't remember. When you have 57 slides, it's hard to remember all of it. Hold on. Let me check my notes. Oh, I see. Right. So the sixth preliminary, after you've done the fifth preliminary, which has 5 steps, is again requesting blessings from your teachers. And so I have this picture of a message in a bottle. You're requesting blessings so that you can do the things. Not like it's almost like when you get the lung, when you get the permission to do something, it becomes so much more powerful. Look, you can go online, you could go onto Amazon, and you can buy every single book that will explain to you every single secret practice that's out there. It's all there. You could do it. It's not advisable, but you could do it, right? Will it work? That's a different question. Oh, but Tim, I had the karma to find this book. I had the, you know, I remember I was in the middle of a Jason Kappa retreat, which we're going to do next year, by the way. If you choose to join, it's a preparation for Diamond Way. We're gonna do that later next year or beginning of next year. And in that retreat, I was I was at Diamond Mountain and they used to have a library of books. And at there's a place they call the community center, which was called the Anigompa, which used to be the Gompa for all the nuns. And there was And during the day, like this was there was wasn't anyone there at Diamond Mountain, so I had gone down there. I went down. I was like, middle of the retreat, I was just kind of a little bit lungy, and I needed to get out. And I was like, maybe I need to read a book. Like I like to read science fiction in retreats. Like find like one book to like kind of bring my mind out of it for a bit. So I went down there and I didn't really, I was like, I was overwhelmed by, after being in retreat, I was overwhelmed by like the thousands of books that were hanging out there. Um, and I went into the kitchen to make some tea. And then one of my first teachers showed up randomly, didn't even know that they were there at Diamond Mountain. Surprise, right? So they showed up and she walked in, um, and she looked at me and then didn't say anything and walked over to the library and then just looked at it and then picked up a book, took it out, opened it up, was like, huh, closed the book, put it back in the shelf, and then left. Didn't say anything, right? I was like, that's weird. Now I'm like, that's not so weird anymore, right? So I was like, well, maybe there's a secret message, a message in the bottle, you know. And so went over, grabbed the book, and um it was Lama Yeshe's book on inner fire practice, Tummo practice. And I was like, that's weird. So I picked up the book, grabbed it, took it back to my cottage, and I read it, and it was and there was a part of me that was like, I think I was supposed to read this, even though the first page says if you don't have permission to read this from your lama, you shouldn't read it. And I was like, to me, I felt like I got permission from my teacher because they walked in and grabbed it, right? So I'm like, I'm flipping through it, and I didn't understand a lot of what was happening in the book, and it wasn't ready for the practices. But it was an introduction for me, right? It was something that just went into my mind stream in the depths of retreat. And then when I got the actual instructions years later, right? Then it started making sense, right? So why am I saying this? Don't go pick up books that your teacher doesn't give you, but sometimes books will fall into your laps, right? But like what do you like? There's no like right or like what's right and what's wrong. Like that's the like you have to be very, very discerning for yourself. But request blessings, request the teachings, request the help, and the help will come in random ways. Random, random, right? Whatever random means to you. Like you will be in a retreat at Diamond Mountain where there's nobody there, and your first teacher just randomly shows up at Diamond Mountain and goes, yeah, go have a look at that book, Tim. You see, that's how it works. All right. Okay. How do we find a good place for meditation? Okay. What are the six conditions? These are different. What things do you need to have in your life? What seeds do you need to plant in your life to make meditation work? Here they are. Stay in a place that is conducive to meditation. Rimrock is a great place for meditation. It's boring for everything else. Well, that's not fair. It's not fair at all. It looks boring. How about that? It's not exciting. There's one cafe, you know, but when you're, never mind. I like living here. It's also conducive to meditation. All right. Secondly, what? That doesn't make any sense. Something's not right here. Hold on. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we're not going to do that. You can look it up later. These next slides are the five parts of the first part. Okay. There's five qualities that that makes a good meditation place good for meditation. You can study that later. We're not going to review that today, but I included it in the slideshow so you can study it later. Okay. Second step is live simply. Don't need too many things. Look, consumerism is rampant everywhere. Look at all these people buying stuff. Like you don't need all this stuff. The more you meditate, the more you recognize you don't need it. It doesn't mean you don't have stuff. And it doesn't mean you don't have good stuff. It doesn't mean you don't have things that you like. But what it means is like, don't get wrapped up in needing more. You know, I've had the same pair of shoes for 4.5 years, 5 years almost. They now have a hole in them, and I glued it together. I'm like, you're still working, right? I could go buy new shoes, but it's like I don't need to, so live simply, but doesn't mean don't have nice things. The next thing is be satisfied with what you have. You know, this is an internal state, not an external state. Next thing is give up being too busy. The ACI staff is way too busy. They're working way too hard. So hard that they're not working. When you're sometimes overworked, you can't get anything done, right? So my new method for 2026 is that they're being paid to do practice 1 hour a day, right? And watch the productivity go up. And it does, right? But give up being too busy. Like you can be busy all your life, but then you'll never reach, you won't achieve the results. You have to prioritize. But what's more important? Like, yes, do a half hour of exercise, do a half hour meditation. Maybe do a full, maybe do a full hour of meditation if you can, right? Give up being too busy. And then maintain an ethical way of life. And I wanted to spend some time on this, which we don't have any time, but I'm going to anyway. The way to make meditation work is to have a good ethical way of life. To not be bothered. And meaning that if you're not living well and treating people well, your meditation will not be good. Now, what do I mean by this? Like, and what the hell does this picture have to do with ethics? I mean, I like coffee, of course. What does this picture have to do with ethics? Anyone have any idea?
Six perfections.
Dude. Yeah, I don't know. There's not six, there's not six things in that picture.
Cleaning your mind, cleaning your meditation.
Nope.
Ethics is the basis.
True, but that's not what this is about.
Oh, creating the platform for pouring wisdom down.
I'd like that, but that's not the answer either.
Is it strengthening the potency?
Концентрация.
Nope. Okay, we don't have time.
Концентрация.
Four
Nope,
steps, maybe, for meditation.
no, 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 no. There's three major sets of vows. Get it? See? There's three things that's being poured through. The first one are the Praktimoksha vows. Your general 10 top 10 virtues. All right. Your second level are your Bodhisattva vows, and your third ones are your Diamond Way vows. Okay. They are extraordinarily subtle. I have some people whining at me that I'm not giving them vows yet. Diamond way vows. If you think about it really well, the Praktimoksha and Bodhisattva vows are diamond way vows. Stop thinking that you don't have something. All right. You need an ethical way of life to become a being who can serve all beings. You need that. And you have to become subtle in the practice of those vows. Subtle in the practice of being a bodhisattva. Subtle in the practice of restraining yourself from bad deeds. The praktimoksha vows, individual freedom vows. Okay. There's a beautiful text that describes all the vows, all the praktimoksha vows, all the bodhisattva vows, and all the diamond way vows. And almost 50% of that text deals with the praktimoksha vows. Okay. It spends 50% of the text, which is supposed to be a secret diamond way text, which it is secret. Secret. But 50% of that is devoted to just the top 10 non-virtues and their derivatives. Okay. So in order to advance, you have to become a subtle expert at your praktimoksha and your bodhisattva vows. And I'm not talking about being an obsessive compulsive, like, I can't use those words anymore. Oh, it's so annoying. Fanatic. Don't be fanatical about it, much less judge other people about their vows and the way that they're behaving. The way that people behave is a ripening, is a dependent event, meaning it's a ripening of your own seeds based on how you treated others in the past anyway. Whether it was you or past life you, it doesn't matter. Like, it's coming from a previous seed. You see. So if you want to advance, you have to develop the subtle art of living a good life, which is restraining yourself from bad deeds and then encouraging yourself to do good deeds. And then the subtle art of understanding what those things are. And what things are you doing that are making your eggshell harder to crack open? And it's a if you want to have good meditation, which I think a lot of you want, because then you can put highly valuable virtuous objects in front of that telescope, and to be able to focus on a highly virtuous object, you need to have a lot of virtue. You need to, because it's expensive. It is expensive karmically to even sit with your Lama in meditation. You see, it's expensive, you know. And though, and you and relax, because you're gonna go through cycles where it's good, and then when it's not good, then you realize you have to charge those things up again. You have to be watching your mind. Your mind is the basis of karma, the movement of the mind and that which follows. Your mind is your mind is a eggshell that doesn't want to be broken, you know, and it will resist until it doesn't anymore, you know. So that's how I want to spend a little bit of time on that. And I don't care if we don't get through all the content because I think it's important for us to walk away with the idea that you, if you want to advance, there's a reason why those commitments are in place. And I'm not saying don't get fanatical, don't get over obsessive, don't like lose your mind, right? It's it's a practice, it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's an evolution. You're committed, and I can see it. Like, look, how many people are here? Freaking almost 300 people, right? You're committed. You're committed to being a better person. You already are a good person, okay? If you made it into month 3, notice the numbers have been dipping down. It's not as many as we had before. Normal, normal attrition. But you are good people. You can't force it. Like, and those bad seeds will pop out. I'm sorry, they will. They just have a life of their own until they don't. So going through a tough time, I get it. You will go through tough times. How long will the tough time last? Sometimes a long time. Sorry. Sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years. We all go through it. I've gone through it many times. But we just step by step, piece by piece, build the paradise. You just take a step, one more step, one more step. And eventually, what happens when you're having a bad time is that renunciation takes over. And then the choice between what hurts more and what hurts less becomes very prevalent. And if it hurts more, like then eventually you stop doing the thing that hurts more. Like maybe you have that uncomfortable conversation that you've been wanting to have. Maybe you tell the truth. Maybe you let it go. And then you realize that the pain of not saying something was worse than the pain of saying it in the first place, even though you were afraid to say it in the first place. Right? And that's how it goes. Renunciation will eventually take over. Then you have a choice. And that's what the vows are about. Making the choice to change. And if the Buddha was a being who became perfected and then gave us the path to do it, maybe there's something in there. And then you have to decide it for yourself. You have to decide it for yourself. There's nothing that any teacher can do for you. It's not coming from how you treated others in the past. And if someone can help you, it's because you have the seeds to be helped. How do you get the seeds to be helped? I don't know. 64 Bodhisattva vows. Go for it. I got an old lady now. Go take care of an old lady, old man, your family, your parents, your kids. I got this beautiful thank you note. Every year there's the grocery store has a Christmas tree on it and has these little ornaments on it, and it's a basically a kid somewhere in Arizona who needs a heavy jacket because it gets cold, right? And they can't afford jackets, right? So you pick it up, you go buy a jacket, and then you mail the jacket to the center, and then they give them the coat for Christmas, right? And I've done this for a couple years now, and my friend found it and sent it to me, and I did it, and I just did it so fast. It was like I was running out to Taiwan. I was going to be gone for a month. We did it really fast and I forgot about it. Um, but then I got a thank you note, you know, got a beautiful thank you note written by a 6-year-old thanking me for the coat, right? And for me, it was, wasn't very expensive, right? But it was so meaningful for this person. They're cold. It gets cold in Arizona. Surprise, it's the desert. It gets cold here, and they can't afford a coat to stay warm, right? That's how you create a teacher, by the way. Okay, so your group leaders have a responsibility now. Okay, there's no way that we're going to finish the entire content of this class. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly go through the 5 problems of meditation. And then in your review groups, you're going to have to do the rest of the content for this class, which is so difficult. The 7-point posture of how to sit in meditation. Ooh, don't 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 get upset about it. Super easy. Um, and then the 9 stages of meditation. Those are the 2 things that you group leaders are going to go through when you have your reviews. The 7 postures, the 7-point posture, and the 9 stages of meditation. So that's your responsibility to go through that. Maybe, Anastasia, maybe we'll have a quick half-hour review class for the review leaders to go through those 2 things, and I can give some pointers on how to teach it. So let's schedule that. Okay, very quickly, the 5 problems of meditation. Okay, here we go. First problem of meditation. We call this lelo. Not doing it. Very simple. This is just you being lazy and not doing your practice. Okay. Like this person is sitting on their meditation cushion, but they're doing something else, right? They even got their butt on the meditation cushion, but they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? The first obstacle to meditation is not doing it, right? And then convincing yourself to do it. Because if you don't do it, you're not going to get anywhere. It's such an obvious problem. And I know a lot of us have this problem, including myself. I'll just walk by the meditation cushion. I mean, like, oh, later, I got something else to do, you know. So that's the first problem of meditation. And then there's some solutions which you all can go through in your review groups. The second problem of meditation is once you sat down in meditation, then you forget. You forget the instructions, meaning you forget the object of meditation. You were supposed to think about your teacher. You were supposed to look in the eyes of your teacher. You were thinking about death meditation, something like that. You decided that was the object, and then you forgot about it and you thought about something else. And then you have this moment of realization. You're like, well, shit, what was I supposed to be doing? And that's what this guy is. He's like, damn, I forget what I was supposed to be doing, right? Which is the second problem of meditation. You lose the object, right? You lose the, and like, look, guys, this is normal. Okay. You move, your mind likes to move on to more shiny objects, or what it thinks is a shiny object. So then you need to bring it back. The drumpa brings it back. The remembering, the recollection brings it back. Third problem of meditation are two things. Oh, first one is dullness. Just getting into meditation, and then your body's like, you don't have enough energy for it, or it's not bright enough, or it's not, you just don't have that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed mind. You're tired. Gross dullness or subtle dullness. And I'll just say subtle dullness is the worst, is probably one of the worst obstacles of meditation because you don't even know you're there. The other side of it is being too busy. Too busy, too much going on, too many things going on in your mind. I have to get this done. I have to prepare this class. I have to run the tech for this class. I have to upload this video. I have to do this. I have to do that. Yes, you might have to do all those things, and it's not helping your meditation, right? So these are the two main obstacles, gross, obvious versions of it and subtle versions of it, and how to get over those things. And you can study the course a little bit more on how to do that. And eventually, I can't look at this guy yawning because it's making me yawn. Then you'll understand how the solutions for that work. The fourth problem of meditation is not doing something when you should. When there is a problem to fix, but you don't do anything to fix it. What's wrong with this guy? He's cold. It's snowing outside. He's like, oh, I'm cold. And then just like his mom's like, well, you should have put on a jacket, dummy. I told you to put on your coat before you left. No, I'm not gonna be cold, right? This guy's not doing something when he should be doing something, right? And that's the fourth problem of meditation. You're supposed to correct it, but you don't. And the most challenging thing to correct is subtle dullness because it feels good, but you don't have enough energy behind it. You don't have enough intensity, fixation, nar behind it. And so you just kind of space out, not in this sort of like you lose the object kind of way, but you just kind of coast. It feels good. It feels nice, but you're not making any progress. You're not putting on the coat when you're cold, right? And then the fifth problem of meditation is doing something when you shouldn't do it. When you're fixing a problem that shouldn't be fixed, there's nothing to fix. Why is this guy dressed up in hot clothing on a hot, sunny beach? He's fixing a problem he doesn't have. And then he's making a problem, right? Now he's hot. Now he's wearing this hot outfit, right? He's sweating now. He created a problem that wasn't a problem in the first place, which is a thing that all of you do, including me. You create problems that weren't problems to begin with. It's called a mental affliction. Right? You're creating problems where there aren't problems. And they weren't ever there anyway. You see, so the fifth thing is your meditation is going so well that you're not used to it going well, and you try to fix it. And then by trying to fix it, it goes unwell. And so you have to distinguish between that. And this is where people get lost in subtle dullness. I remember I was talking to my teacher about my meditation, and I thought I had an agitated mind. It's like it's so busy in there, I can't slow down. And he said, no, you have subtle dullness. And I was like, and then walked away, of course. And I had to think about it for a while. Subtle dullness sometimes looks like agitation. So that's my personal advice to you about that. All right. Cool. There's class 5, excuse me. That's a lot. Okay. So, group leaders, your responsibility is to teach the 7-point posture. So easy. If you can't do that. And then the other part is the nine stages of meditation, to be able to identify those 9 stages. It's a whole teaching in and of itself. But I wanted to highlight the things that I think will help you in your meditation, like the things that you need to do to get ready to meditate. Okay. Next class is going to be about what do we put into the meditation? What do we put into our meditation? And we're going to talk about the Lam Rim, and um, we're going to specifically talk about how do you find that teacher? How do you think about them? How do you act towards them? Things that are incredibly important for your own evolution. And we don't talk about it very much. So stick around for the next class. So thank you, interpreters. Thank you, tech team. Thank you, everybody who's helping out. Take a 25-minute break, and we'll see you in a few minutes. How about some hearts? Gonna give me some hearts? Nope. There we go. Got it.